Welcome to Accountants Law Pod, where accounting professionals and law firms converge. Hosted by Lynda Artesani, Sarah Prevost, and Steven Libhart.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. You just missed a fun pre-podcast talk. We were picking on each other and having lots of fun. Good morning, Lynda and Sarah.
Good morning.
How are you?
It's good. I'm well. It's a nice Monday post Mother's Day, and so far I'm gonna knock on wood. Things are okay right at the moment.
And you look bright and cheery. So you
I
must
know,
be
Sarah. You look like you're ready to go to like somewhere big.
I did not have a lot of sleep. I went to the gym and I have my coffee.
You're sparkly.
That's it. She's sparkly. Well, today we're going to talk about why law firms rely on side spreadsheets. And I'm just going to start it off by saying, why? Why?
Saying the question is why? Why do you have them?
Yeah. Why do you even jump into that? You know, mostly it's smaller firms that usually jump into that bucket and thinking they're going to save money and everything. And we're going to talk about that today, all the little pitfalls that can happen. And when it's time to get out of those spreadsheets and go to the professional software and bill your clients, pay attention to your law firm, pay attention to your business, and let the software work for you. So who wants to kick that off?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of times sorry.
No, you go for it. Because I think
Sarah was really puzzling.
I'm 3 hours ahead, so you may not have had your coffee yet. But
I'm in it. I'm just starting.
And I'm just saying, I feel like a whole different person. Like as I was on a medication for 2 weeks, again, tried another medication for cholesterol, high cholesterol, and epic failure. Apparently I have some kind of gene, and it made me ill and tired. And now I feel sparkly because I feel like myself again.
Because I feel like Lynda today.
I stopped taking it. I mean, I was so dead last week. Last week was the worst. But why do they have a side spreadsheet? They have a side spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they get it in the beginning because they start out and they're like, well, I don't want to pay for software, so I'm going to just do my own trust in the spreadsheet. I don't need software. I can do it myself separately. We've seen all sorts of versions of that, huh, Sarah? Sometimes we get a spreadsheet and we're like, oh, this is kind of creative. Like they'll have a tab for every person and then they have a cover sheet tab, mm-hmm. and it all tallies up. Sometimes they have the spreadsheet for trust where it maybe started out in one way, but they couldn't continue because that's a very manual process. And then it's either behind, or we find when we dig in, like, there's the formulas on. Like you click on the formula box and it doesn't include everything. Well, there's a problem. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes they have a side spreadsheet for their calculating their compensation. And
a lot of them do that.
Yeah. And then, of course, the three-way, you kind of need a spreadsheet for that to kind of tie all the pieces together because you have these, Clio and Lean Law and QuickBooks, or however you have it. Or
there's one you haven't mentioned yet. One of the side spreadsheets a lot of times is costs associated with the file. So the client's advanced client cost, it's a therapeutic way for some firm owners,
client fees, mm-hmm.
and or some individuals, depending on the size of the firm. So you're right, Steve. I do feel like it's on the smaller side, but there are some. And when you get into it, you're like, that's logical to your mind. That is very illogical to anyone else looking at it. It's not plain English because spreadsheets aren't their thing, right? Like it's just a tally report is what I call it.
Well, I've noticed some of the bar associations will tell attorneys and new attorneys, you can use a file box with cards, you can use a spreadsheet, you can do this, you can do that. And to me, it's a disservice to them. It's like, don't go there.
It is. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I know that we kind of touched on this earlier because Lynda had written a blog about this, and Tira kindly pointed this out where the broken formulas, some of the things like Lynda, you mentioned initially, just start with empathy because it isn't something you should, as an accounting professional, offer to take away from someone. It's a resource tab. It's a tool in your toolkit to utilize and validate against. But at some point, if you have valid ways to produce the information, that can be tried and true. And that may go for a while. And I've always been like, you don't need that anymore. I still have a client that does it very manual, but I understand why. It's the way he was trained. It's the way he looks at it.
Feel safe.
And that's okay. Like I could still produce the information the way that I need it. But that's okay if that's what they want to do. There will come a point, I feel like this is true of all three of us as business owners, where we realize it's not capable for us to maintain this because we have so many things going on. So,
Doesn't it make you wonder that now we've got Claude?
mhm.
Doesn't it make you wonder because the attorneys are playing in the software, the AI software, just like we are.
Yeah.
Wonder what we're going to find there because it's not always right. And I wonder what kind of, if you ask them for a spreadsheet, it can make a spreadsheet. And then you can say, well, can I see it? Because it's nice to have, in some respects, having a spreadsheet, depending on the process that the client's doing. Sometimes we have to coordinate on a spreadsheet. We have project lists that we use
Yeah.
spreadsheets
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
So it is something. But when you're talking about the manual processes, we're trying to eliminate them. But sometimes that's more task
Mm-hmm.
specialized. But then I like to call it their binky because sometimes you have to be very careful when you meet with a new client. Always ask that question though, because remember, Sarah, we met with somebody and then we went back and we're like, oh, we forgot to ask the question if they had a spreadsheet. And then we went back because we were trying to do a trust cleanup after we got the client. And then eventually in a conversation when we did the little meetings, they said, well, I got a spreadsheet on that. Would you like that? I was like, you've been holding out on that spreadsheet all this time. Because we're trying to fix something that was older and they had a spreadsheet from a while ago. So we have it as a question now when we do the scope and when we meet with a client, we actually have that as a question. Do you have any spreadsheets, anything that would help us or assist us into getting you the proper quote? Because if they've got a side spreadsheet, maybe that will help us figure out the old trust and we don't have to rack our brains on it. Because sometimes that's missing information or the bank is so old, we don't have all the statements or whatever the story is behind it. Or they move bank to bank and nobody attached it into QuickBooks where they moved the money over and that they didn't break it out. They just made a transfer and just said, oh, there we go. And nobody tracked it. So we don't know what was in that initial deposit into the new trust account because they didn't book it in that way. And then what do you do?
I think Steve said it really well too. I mean, Lynda, you and I've seen this, is it's encouraged at the bar to just at the very minimum maintain it. And kind of to your point, those granular details don't always surface accurately. And if it's a source of information, or if you're, like you're saying, you move bank to bank. Now, Steve, I know for you as a tool in your toolkit, and we've kind of taken a little cue from you, you have a side spreadsheet of just the additional asks or the out of scope things. The wins, and not to penalize somebody, but just to, everyone needs a reminder of like how much you've done for them, right? In a nice way. But do you feel that when you get into some of the deeper spreadsheets, when they're trying to analyze or slice data, do you feel like the right people are in the right place to look at that, or does somebody double check it? Because we've found incorrect formulas. What's your sense on
Well,
that?
I had a client this year who created this massive spreadsheet, huge, on partner compensation, and things didn't tie out. And they asked me to take a look at it, and I could not figure out where all these formulas were because everything circled back to everything to everything to everything.
Yeah.
We finally had to get their CPA involved to figure out where they wanted to go with this spreadsheet because it just went on and on and on. But that's a great example of how a spreadsheet can be effective, though, because they can parse out things and study them. Like,
but they got to make sure it ties back to the books. They don't do that.
Exactly.
Well, that's my inquiring mind is down. Did that whole thing get thrown out and start over?
No, it ended up working. They found where the anomaly was in it, but it took a few weeks to get it worked out.
That's a lot of work.
But back to what you were talking about, I do have a spreadsheet that I use in my business that has a tab for every client. And Lynda said the word wins. The wins go in there. The scope creep goes in there. Everything that just goes in there. It's just kind of a dumping ground for my thoughts on each client as I work throughout the year. And then when I'm looking at whether I should be doing a price increase or right now I have a client who's really downsizing, and so I have to need to go the other direction with pricing maybe. And I have all these notes in there, and that to me that's the depository for that. But here's the thing I don't like about attorneys using spreadsheets is there's no audit trail.
Yeah.
So
unless it's a Google sheet. If it's a Google sheet, we're like, who touched this? Right to the cell and see who made the change.
Yeah. You're right.
That's what
Yeah.
I like about Google Sheets over an Excel spreadsheet. Where
Yeah.
it feels lacking a few things, it has amazing features, and I prefer to be in a Google Sheet over Excel now
Mm-hmm.
because of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Wow.
Because I can see, plus I can see if somebody, because if you are sharing it with an attorney, say you've created something fantastic that's going to track compensation, it's going to track back to the books, and then you let them see it and they go in and look at it and they change it and they wreck it, you can go convert back to the last one and you
Sure.
have it back. Whereas it's got a lot of protections to it. So, or you can see if somebody's manipulated or changed it, which we had that with a client one time too. Weren't they like putting things in to get their bonus and somebody went in and just took other people's
Oh
stuff?
my God, it was horrific. Now, the thing that's fascinating to me, though, I feel this way, is I get that some softwares you're trying to put them all together, right? And so you don't have data in maybe one section and why you need it for these, say, the compensation. But why is the compensation so complex then that it can't be streamlined? Why can't we reevaluate that segment of the work? Or is it, and this is not attorneys, but you see this in other forms, in other professional services, where they just need to keep track of, let's say, the dollars that came in, the net that goes out to them, and what's the in between. Um, Keep it simple, I guess, in that way is what I'm thinking, not overcomplicate it. But to Steve, like you said, that is often the case. You have this robust workbook. It's crazy. Like,
It is. It is. And it's very granular. And then, when they change course in the middle of it all, that comes into play, and so you're trying to work through what happened, what if, what about, those sort of things. So,
like, wouldn't you want to? I guess my question in my brain is, wouldn't you want to lean in back into your financials, extrapolate the data out of your practice management, lean it back into the financials? And I can understand that's where I can see where you're coming together in a spreadsheet that's, you're not adding a lot of formulas to it. You're stating the data and then you're showcasing potentials or hypotheticals and or the final result. But it, to Linda's point, it's got a way to lock, or it's got a way to, you can protect your cells, which I know you can do that in other softwares too. But I just feel like if you're having a collaborative conversation with your accounting professionals, it should be a collaborative tool then that you're working in. So
now I've used spreadsheets when I have a huge trust cleanup to do. And I will do the tab by tab, client by client.
Yeah.
And, and of course, I'll be very careful about getting all my formulas to go to the master tab and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
But that's come in very handy in those situations because
I like those, Steve.
Yeah,
Those are
I do
good
too.
working papers. You know what I like about on the Google side of it? You can take a screenshot and have that image saved in that workbook and lock the cell so that way all the hard work you did is just for viewing. It's not for,
exactly.
yeah. I mean, I don't mind giving someone, okay, here's a copy of it. If you feel like you need to validate and write on it and challenge it, by all means. But I think you're right, Steve. Like, you do need some work papers. I mean, spreadsheets will not go away, obviously.
Correct. They hopefully not.
Okay, so here's a scenario. Oftentimes you see it in obviously PI firms. Their spreadsheets are heavily driven because you're taking a percentage of what's been awarded and so forth and so on. But my question to you, Steve, is when you're working on like costs, or you're looking at, some clients come to you and it's just like a data dump out of their bank account. And then you've got to sift through all of it and you got to find out what's all this data, or, what was this deposit for? What was this expense for? Because sometimes people pay things in grouped, like you
Correct.
pay your court filing fees sometimes in a group. How do you handle that for you? How have you sifted through that data? What do you do if you have to do it in a spreadsheet? Do you just like make it
I
collaborative?
haven't actually come across it where I've had to parse it out that way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes we just make it collaborative for us.
To your example, like I'll use Clio as an example. The court fees and the filing fees and all that will be individual entries on the client bill. But then when the client pays, they, it's all lumped together. Here's $10,000 and $7,000 is legal fee income, and 3,000 is all these costs.
Mhm.
You can still parse it out because you can go back to your Clio software and look at the bill and look at the reports and see how it does it. Or we've started using a software called MyFirmData with this firm I was mentioning a while
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
Yeah, they're
And
great.
oh my gosh, what a lifesaver that's
it
going to
is.
be. And as an example, I've shared this firm with you guys before. They are so granular with their class accounting.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it got to be such a monster with the fee income category that's what finally pushed us over to MyFirmData.
Yeah.
Because we needed to break it out so that they could see, let's say Sarah's, excuse me, Sarah's the attorney.
Mhm.
And she worked on this situation for 2 years. And the transaction finally closed, but there was a huge discount. But 3 other attorneys jumped in throughout those 2 years and did different things.
Mm.
It got so granular that, and MyFirmData does this for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can say this bill
Yeah.
is now allocated to these 3 people, and so is the discount that was given. And here's how it parsed out the prior payments and so on. So that avoided spreadsheets because we were heading that direction. I was like, oh no, we just can't do that.
And you might want to explain what MyFirmData is.
MyFirmData links to Clio. These people are amazing. And it's a reporting.
I'm with you.
I think you guys turned me on
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, the harps played and the sun came up.
Because it doesn't cost that much. That's the other piece. It's not that expensive to get
reasonable.
the data. It's less than the time you take to do it manually, right?
It is.
That's a
and
no-brainer.
you don't have to spreadsheet everything.
So they're a company that does
It
exporting.
exports out in different versions, which is helpful. But the biggest thing, like if you were to take, I can see on a small firm, you take it out to a spreadsheet, but if you're trying to look at, like you just brought up Clio, so I'll just use it. You're looking at the originating and the responsible, right?
Correct.
We have a client very recently that never really understood what they were doing inside the software to be able to make sure historically they have the right data. So now it would be a matter of probably going back. I don't know if that would be us or someone maybe more cost effective if someone's on their team, depending on timing, to go back and clean that up and make sure how it's aligned. And when you think about, and this is true of us, we can say this as accounting professionals, when we're endeavoring into a newer software, so you're coming out of your spreadsheet, you're getting into a new software, you may not have the whole picture in front of you of all the pieces you need, but I feel like there are some fundamental core parts that you really should set up, which is responsible attorney, originating attorney, and you also practice area, because 90% of the time, if you're asking us to slice that data back up, we have to understand what it is that you're looking for, because I know you're looking to probably hire an associate. So
what's the backstory on the ask? Because
Good
you
point.
just ask us for like this random thing. We don't know why you're asking. We might be able to give you might ask us for a specific report. We might know something better or a better way to get that data out. And like Sarah said, slice and dice it. But if we don't know what you're trying to do, we can speculate, but you don't want to assume anything. You want to actually know what the reason is. And for some reason, they kind of keep everything such close to the vest that you can't like, just let me know. Sometimes like when they all of a sudden you get a client that's like, I need this, and this report. And then you find out that they're actually getting a mortgage somewhere. Or there's a reason for it, but they're like, I need it tomorrow. I need it tomorrow. It's like, whoa, hold on, cool your jets. And then you find out, well, they didn't tell you anything all this time. And now they really do need it tomorrow because they ignored their bank. And it's become our fire. My favorite line is there's no bookkeeping emergency, but sometimes there is when it comes to these things.
Well, and like maybe for one example, and Steve, you've seen this too, is exit strategies. So all of a sudden the partnership isn't working, or a solo attorney is like realizing my life has changed. I've got to find somebody to take this over. Well, now how in the heck are you supposed to drive the bus? Because you only did it half baked, right? And you're asking all these questions and you didn't give us, to your point, Lynda, we don't get the story sometimes. We have certain clients that hold it a little too close to the vest. And I kind of question, like, look, we kind of have the whole pie. So can we just have the last quarter left, please, to help you drive?
I know.
Yeah. But I mean, you can pull those out into spreadsheets and make them pretty and nice and build these beautiful things. But if the data isn't where it needs to be, or if you didn't intentionally do it, I think the question is like, what are you trying to track? Is it, you're trying to track this little bit, or are you trying to, is there something that's a bigger goal in the end? And it's never easy to go back and backfill data.
No.
It's the
No.
most costly, one, like that data migrations, if done wrong, we've had one come to us 5 times over, finally landed it, but 5 times they tried.
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's bad. And we see some really bad data migrations. And I think sometimes people just assume, well, I'm going to go through Clio or Lane Law. They're going to help me through this. And they don't realize you still have the obligation to
Yeah.
check the data after it's been migrated over and double check the numbers, because things, even if they tell you everything came through, you need to make sure that it came through. That's why you really need somebody to help guide you through the process, especially if you're moving to new software. Don't go by the salesman's conversation with you because they're trying to sell you the product. I
Yeah.
don't care who you're talking to, what company that you're working with. Find an accountant or a bookkeeper that does this work that can help guide you through, because it's an expensive. I mean, it's really expensive to change software. And you don't want to have to do it. We've seen people have to do it twice, 3 times even. And they finally get to us and we're like, oh, wow. Oh, I see what they did. They just booked in journal entries. You got really no data here. And that's the thing that's kind of, you feel bad because they paid a lot of money to get it done that way. You really want someone that knows what they're doing when it
Or
comes.
they have a side spreadsheet and poor
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
let's live through this.
Yeah.
Well, and to your point, Sarah, if you're let's say you're a solo
Yeah.
and you set up your Clio as an example,
Mhm.
and you use it as originating and responsible, or however you set it up, and then all of a sudden you're going to bring in the partner, like you said, Lynda.
Yeah.
You know, it's not plug and play, folks. You have to
No.
stop and think it through, because you can export whatever you want out of there into the spreadsheet, but garbage in, garbage out.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. If you're
Really?
trusted and balanced in the old software, it's not going to balance in the new software. You're going to figure it out,
Really?
unfortunately. And you can't change banks and make it magically balance either.
Linda.
It doesn't work.
She's
Doesn't
too
work.
practical in this conversation. What's
I know.
Oh my
going on
gosh.
here?
Oh, because it's like I want to say, just shake them and say, don't. It doesn't work. Maybe it sounds good on paper, but it doesn't work. It doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. You know, it does. I will say, do you guys find it? I find it, I understand it, but I find it funny to me that a lot of times when you're going, say to a bank, they'll want your financials in a spreadsheet. And I'm
Yeah.
always like, really? Why? But I mean, they're trying to run numbers off of it and
Yeah, they're
the data,
taking their
right?
own pieces out of
Maybe they
it.
just took
They're
it up to
taking their own
CSV or
pieces.
something.
But it always scares me because I'm like,
It can
is
be
that
easily manipulated.
yeah.
Well, you send
and
them a hard copy of the reports too, out of the billings or out
you
of
should.
out of QuickBooks. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And put in the title, not audited, all of that, and send them whatever spreadsheet they want and let them
But
play
you
with
would
it.
think banks would have OCR data. They could read these PDFs.
Well, yeah.
But that's too practical.
That's coming in 2040.
Oh,
When
so
they
here's
join us with the rest of the crowd. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
here's a little side note on banks that's irritating me right now. Are you guys familiar with First Bank?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, First Bank is becoming PNC.
Oh,
Have you been receiving all the notices that you physically have to go into the bank and sign documents, re-sign all your documents?
physically.
La,
Do they
la,
have
la,
anybody
la,
in the
la.
bank?
La 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 la.
Is there anybody in the bank to meet you physically to help me
There
sign the
isn't the
document?
one by my house because they know me. I've gone in enough times and said, it's me. And they're like, we've got your documents. So
PNC is not one of my favorite banks.
I know, I'm
I
worried.
will say though, I had an incident. I'm not going to announce it too much here, but I got a new device and I had to register the new device. And I did appreciate the fact that I had to jump through a few extra hoops where normally I would be upset about it
Oh, good point.
regarding Chase Bank and a couple other banks that I was like, oh, thank you, because
Because you know they're doing
it
it for
was
your
nerve
security.
wracking. Yeah. And I can say even with the recent cybersecurity that has happened for all these schools, and it's not just universities.
Yeah.
These are this Canvas product. The thing that I've been reading from some cyber individuals is that now they have the way to see how you write, the way you interact, because it's a messaging platform,
Yep.
so
They know a lot about you.
there's a lot about you. So now it will most likely, sadly, you'll probably get links like we all get these phishing links of like, hey, your bill isn't paid for, or you've got a school pay. So these are like little things that are really challenging. And I just find it's interesting at this day and age, like going back to our topic is side spreadsheets have vulnerabilities.
Oh yeah.
And they have
Well, then
vulnerabilities
maybe
in
we should go
data.
back to grid paper.
I
The
well,
green sheet.
I'd vote for
green
that.
grid is okay. Well, I guess
It's very secure as long as it stays
as
in your
long as it
office.
doesn't get burned. Can you make them fireproof now?
No, who knows?
Who knows?
I'll tell you,
Put it in the fire safe.
my first job in accounting, Weston Hotels,
Was on a
Uh-huh.
grid sheet, right?
night auditor, the grid sheet was about 4 feet across
Yep.
and about 3 feet high. And at 11 o'clock at night, you started in the top left-hand corner. And by 7 in the morning, you finished across and down
Those
to
big
the bottom
machines.
right corner. Yeah, those great
Yep.
big sheets. And then you wrapped all the daily work up in it and sent it up to accounting.
Yeah.
But guess what? It balanced.
Well, and I was one of the people that had to review the night auditors work.
Okay.
Gosh, yeah. Yeah, for food and beverage.
You were that lady up in accounting, huh?
I was. I was in get this, I was in an office with no windows at one point.
Oh,
And I think I came out and said, I'm too young and too cute to be back there. So
Aw.
I don't think I'd
I
like to
was
be in
kind
an
of being
office without a
sassy and
window.
funny, but I was joking around and they're like, yeah, that's not actually a nice office.
Are you guys ready for the funny AI story of the day?
Okay.
Sure.
Are we moving into
in
that
this
before we
morning-
wrap?
Before we wrap, in this
Okay.
morning's news, there was an article about a restaurant somewhere. I want to say it was in the United States, maybe it was in Japan. That is, their AI is running the business. It's hiring the employees. It's doing everything. And guess what? It's losing money.
Oh, what a surprise.
What a surprise.
It's AI. Can you imagine relinquishing that control? I can't at this point. I
Why?
can't. I don't
What's
care
the
how good
point
it
of-
could do.
What's the point of entrepreneurship if you're going to have it do that?
Well, clearly it didn't work very well.
Yeah, I
They
just
didn't
started
give it the
laughing.
right prompt, Steve.
Yeah. Wait, I can't make your coffee till I prompt this.
Were they hiring humans with this?
They're hiring humans. The AI is
Okay,
hiring
it wasn't
humans,
robots. Okay.
but they get to do the grunt work, and it's losing money.
Wow.
Yeah.
In restaurants, the edge of profit is
Yeah.
big.
Razor.
Yes, it is not. It's not. I remember looking at that industry when I thought about niching my practice, and I'm like, hell no. That's
No.
too cyclical. Any little thing, like we found out with COVID, any little thing could just really end the business. And I
Yeah.
was like, nope. And I didn't like all the daily slips.
Oh my God.
That was my other thing. I had a couple of restaurants that I worked
Well,
with.
and it's easy to do under the table with tips and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
the cash too. Yeah, it was just not my thing. So
Yeah. Well, that was a good subject today.
yes, it was.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like, share, and leave a quick review. It's the easiest way to help other accountants and attorneys find our little corner of the podcast world. And while you're at it, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Do you have a question or a topic that you'd love us to cover? Drop us a line at info@accountantslawpod.com, send us a message through our website, accountantslawpod.com, or leave us a comment on any of our socials. Your idea might just make it into a future episode. If you want to go beyond listening, consider sponsoring an episode and get your company in front of our growing community of accounting and legal professionals who love learning, laughing, and leveling up. And as always, don't forget to join the conversation inside the Accountants Law Lab Mastermind group at accountantslawlab.com, where collaboration meets inspiration every week.
Well,
Cool.
thanks, Tiara. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it was
See you
good.
all next time.
Bye-bye.
Have a great week.
Bye.